Holler when you're ready to roll. We are ready. Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call this November 18th, 2021 West Elgin Council meeting to order. We have an adoption of the agenda. It's recommended that the West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented. Mover and seconder for that, moved by Rowe and seconded by Leatham. All in favor of that, and that has been carried. Certainly a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. Delegations. This morning we have Detachment Commander Mark Lucas and the Elgin Group Police Services Board update. Chairman Sally Martin, Mayor of Central Elgin is here, and of course Julie Gagnon, CAO of the county, and I believe you're the secretary, are you not? Okay. With that, we will turn the meeting over to, is it you, Sally, that's going to start? Well, there you go. I kind of thought maybe that. So Sally, if you would, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, West Elgin Council. I want to thank you for inviting Inspector Lucas and the Elgin Group Police Services Board to your meeting today to provide an update about the activities of the OPP and the board to let you know about some initiatives that are currently underway in Elgin County. With us this morning, though, is Ida McCollum, and Ida is your representative on the Police Services Board, so we thought it was important for Ida to come as well. I would like to begin by introducing you to Inspector Mark Lucas. He's Elgin County's new detachment commander. Inspector Lucas joined the OPP in 1996 and began his career at the Burlington OPP detachment. He then served at the Cambridge OPP detachment and as a member of the emergency response team before joining the Tactics and Rescue Unit in 2009. Mark is a graduate of the Law and Security Administration program from Canadore College and is currently in his final year at Wilfrid Laurier University, completing a Bachelor of Arts with honors degree in policing with the goal of pursuing a Master of Public Safety degree. Inspector Lucas has received many specialist designations from both the Ontario Police College and the Canadian Police College, and is a recipient of the Constable Mel Sinclair Memorial Award for Academic Excellence and of the Police Exemplary Service Medal for 20 years of service. And I just want to say that those are printed notes I have, but we are so thankful to have Mark with us, and he has been extremely responsive and we're very appreciative. So I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Mark, who's going to discuss the work that Elgin County and give you an overview of our strategic priorities.
Madam Chair, and thank you very much for having me here today. Is that better? Okay, thank you. I would just like to go through a bit of our presentation for you, and this is the presentation that we've been doing to all of the municipalities. It's just a broad overview of what our strategic priorities are and what we're trying to accomplish within my first term here as the new detachment commander. Next slide, please. Next one. So our 2020 to 2022 strategic plan for the OPP is focused on our vision, our mission, and our values. Our vision is safe communities and a secure Ontario. And our mission is to serve our province by protecting the citizens, upholding the law, and preserving public safety. Our values are serving with pride, professionalism, and honor, interacting with respect, compassion, and fairness, and leading with integrity, honesty, and courage. And just for your awareness, those values are part of what's called, we submit awards and accolades nominations for our members. And we have a West Region initiative where instead of going through the lengthy process of submitting members for recognition that goes to Aurelia to come back, we have West Region Challenge coins, and members that are approved for or recognized for their excellent work are issued detachment coins. And since I've been here, we've already, with the calls for service and the types of calls we've had, we've already been able to recognize some of our members basically in-house within West Region, according with our values of pride, professionalism, and honor. Next, please. Our priorities are to focus on our people, our work, and our communities. We want a healthy and resilient OPP. Part of that's taken place through the new ICPS, or the new promotional process, was designed to identify leaders who are going to be in tune and responsive to our members and break away from that autocratic style of leadership into a more friendly and engaged type of leadership. And that's what we've been really focusing on. Our work, we want a responsive and evolving OPP. Since my tenure, starting in July with the detachment, I've really tried to get out and meet all of our municipalities and communities and engage in our communities and be responsive, so that if I use an example of a traffic complaint, if traffic complaints are received, we take that seriously, and we immediately work with our stakeholders and our partners, whether it's community engineers, to identify what issues there are if it's a speeding motorist, and then we'll attach a focused patrol strategy and direct our traffic management unit to the area, so citizens can see that we do take their complaints seriously, and we are responsive and want to help them address their concerns. Our communities, we are focused on collaboration and progression, and that's part of from my previous background. I have met a lot of partnerships across this province at the municipal and federal and military level. So I like to really focus on integrating those relationships to benefit our community with whatever we're facing, so that we have a response to deal with anything that we have as a challenge that we're experiencing. Next, please. We have an ongoing specific action plan for Elgin County right now, and that through analysis and consultation, there were specific areas that were addressed as unique needs for our communities, and that's what we're working on right now. Crime prevention, again, preventing and investigating property crime is one of our pillars for success for this term. We want to continue and support in the ILP or CAS strategy, so intelligence-led policing and crime abatement strategy. And again, we're focusing on working in collaboration with local community resources groups to facilitate a trusted and victim-centered approach in process policies and programs. Roadways, waterways, and trails. We participate in all provincial traffic safety initiatives, including now we're getting to the festive ride season, so that's going to be a big concern for us. Specifically here with West Lorne, I'm aware that ATV patrols have been a concern, and we've really ramped up our ATV patrol hours, and we've secured ATVs to have a responsive plan in place to deal with the specific problems for West Lorne. Again, a lot of that's going to focus on education and promoting public awareness in relation to collisions, wildlife collisions, motor vehicle collisions, alcohol-related collisions. And again, we want to focus, even within our marine operations, to have a very prominent presence on our lakes, which we have this summer. While we're trying to generate some efficiencies, we focused on streamlining collision reporting through implementation of a detachment collision reporting center at Elgin Detachment. The benefit to that is when we get those bad weather storms, we can direct and have those vehicles towed to our detachment where there's an officer there that will investigate those collisions, keeping frontline officers available for more serious calls and for proactive police work. We have experienced a great deal of success with our MCERT program dealing with issues of mental health. And we recently submitted a grant proposal for additional funding for a second MCERT worker. So I'm hopeful we're going to get a response to that. I sit on the Association of Chiefs of Police, our Zone 6, and I heard at our last meeting that I'm hoping we get a response back to that in December before Christmas, which would be good news if that grant proposal is approved. And again, we also are working with St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital with our MCERT team to generate efficiencies in terms of a transfer of care. Again, trying to get our officers back on the road as quickly as possible. Next, please.
Okay, you might tell them what MCERT means. It's
Sorry.
acronyms can be.
Mental Crisis Response Team.
Thank you. And I do want to let you know that Mark has been wonderful. I get email complaints as mayor of Central Elgin about traffic and speeding and stuff, and I've relayed them on to him, and he's responded immediately. And I get all these nice responses back saying, oh, it's amazing. The OPP were there immediately and they've been monitoring it, etc. So I'm very thankful because Mark has really helped in that sense. So I want to thank Mark for his presentation, and Mark's extensive experience and familiarity with Elgin County have already proven a great asset to the community, and we look forward to working with him for many years. Mark actually lives in St. Thomas, so this was a great move for him. Back in April, Julie and I spoke to you about the new Community Safety and Policing Act. It is set to come into effect next year. Once it comes into effect, all Section 10 OPP boards will be dissolved and new OPP detachment boards will be established. Section 10 municipalities were required to submit a proposal indicating the preferred composition of their new OPP detachment boards with direction from participating municipalities. Julie submitted an application for a status quo board, in other words, the same as what we have now, in June, and this includes one elected representative appointed by resolution from Eastern Elgin, that's Bayham and Malahide. One elected representative appointed by resolution of the Council of the Municipality of Central Elgin. That's because we pay a third of the police budget. One community representative from Western Elgin appointed by resolution jointly by the Township of Southold, the Municipality of Dunwich Dutton, and the Municipality of West Elgin. And two persons appointed by the Lieutenant Governor in Council. Sorry, next one then. No, not quite, sorry. In September, a representative from the Ministry of the Solicitor General attended a Zone 6 meeting of the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards, and the representative indicated that the ministry is almost finished reviewing the OPP board composition applications and that we should expect to hear back from them soon. That was September, so we're hoping. Once the new board is formed, board member composition will be reconsidered as part of the budgeting process, because that was a complaint that some people had said that they were concerned about budgeting for this. So we will be looking at that. At the request of participating municipalities, the Secretary Administrator conducted a compensation review earlier this year. The results of the review were shared with the Police Services Board and participating municipalities. The results can also be found on the Police Services Board website in the August 18th agenda package, if you didn't see it. We will keep you updated on the board composition application status, and we'll let you know once we hear back from the ministry. We want to thank you for your time and attention. We are happy to be here, and you're the only one seeing us in person. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Central Elgin saw me in person, but not Mark and Julie, obviously. The rest, we're doing it by Zoom, and I appreciate being able to be here in person. It's a much pleasanter experience than talking over the things. So if you have any questions about the process or about what Inspector Lucas's presentation said, we'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Go ahead, Richard.
Oh, thank you for coming. West Elgin has had a community policing for 25 years. And unfortunately, when COVID hit, that sort of cancelled that. And that was the first time that we haven't had a community policing, you know, and I'm hoping that we can start it up, COVID, that we can start it up next year if COVID lapses a little bit. And what we used to have is a constable come along to our monthly meeting and give us some things that were happening in the area, like speeding, things like that. And we were starting to get our two local schools involved, getting some youth to come on to the committee, which was sort of nice. And then they could have their little committees at school and bring feedback to our, not asking them to be telltales, but to get some feedback what's happening in our schools. And we thought that was the best way of doing it. And we were just starting nicely, where we got some youth from the high school and from Alderborough Public School coming along to the meetings, and they came, say, twice. Then unfortunately this happened. So what I was asking is it possible that if we start again, which we really want, you know, some of the members are saying, when are we going to start again? Well, we'll start again when it's safe to do so. But is it possible that we can continue to have a constable come, if possible, to our meetings? It's so important for the youth to see somebody there in uniform. It makes the whole thing different. They look at it different. They respect the police. You know what I mean? And it sort of makes it interesting. And then we also give back to you. This road is a bad road. There's going to be, they're speeding really bad or whatever. And the youth will bring us information too. So I'm asking you, would there be a possibility of getting a constable to come along to those meetings? We understand if they're busy or on a road call that they can't come, but when possible, it would be nice to have somebody there.
I think that's an excellent idea. And I think once we get the okay to start engaging more in the community with community initiatives, and for sure, I'll make sure that we have someone available to come. And if not, I'll come as well, because I believe in the importance of the community piece, especially with all the media attention recently negatively about the police. I think anything that we can do to overcome those stereotypes and show that we are your friendly neighborhood police, then we will. I think it's important, again, also in my previous role, we would go and do a number of public displays just to get youth really interested in policing and to see some of the different specialties that the OPP has to offer. So if you do start a community policing program again, then absolutely we'll integrate ourselves into that. And if there's opportunities for public displays and different events, then I'll look to engage our outside resources to come to those as well. And even like we had citizens academies in other areas, and depending on when those meetings were taking place, we would have different specialty units come in and just give a brief presentation, just to keep that interest and that community interest going in the police. So
yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Other questions for our guests? Other questions for our guest, Bonnie?
Thank you for coming. It's always interesting to hear the overall strategy of our police force. One of the things that we've had concerns about in this area is homeless encampments. And I just would be interested in hearing how you generally deal with those issues.
So homelessness is a big problem, not just for West Lauren, but across our province and across our country. The police sometimes get put into a difficult position where we are the intermediary between dealing with the issue at hand and trying to engage the appropriate social resources to help out. Our pledge is we want a victim-centered approach towards everything. So if there's a way that we can work with our community stakeholders to help and work towards homelessness, then we will. And it's not just a matter of, there's a transient person and then the police get called and then we become the bad ones to try to take them away. We look beyond that. When I said we have our MCERT worker now, our mental crisis worker, for instances like that, we'll engage our MCERT worker to see if there's a mental health capacity or component to this that we can help engage other resources, or it's just a matter of working through and collaborating with our stakeholders to see where we can try to help these people and get them shelter, food, clothing, especially with the weather changing. So we are responsive to that, and there's no one real quick fix. It's going to be a community effort where we all work together to try to solve that. I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah. And I'm really pleased to hear that the mental health worker is staying in the police force. I think it's an excellent asset.
Have you received much information about how the mental crisis worker works with us? Do you know how that program works? Okay. So what we have is we have a mental crisis worker through the CMHA. And what she does is she's assigned to a patrol officer and she will ride around with the officer for their shift. And if there's any calls of mental crisis or someone that's in crisis, whether it be a person that's potentially overdosed on drugs or considering or contemplating suicide or just acting in an erratic manner, that MCERT worker is specially trained and they'll come with the officer, work with the officer and work with the individual and help to make an assessment. Previously, it was always the police that were making the assessment in terms of mental capacity. And we're not experts in terms of if we can tell if a person's in crisis, but what that person is suffering from or what is going on with them specifically, we're not experts in that. whereas our MCERT worker is an expert in that. And that helps us in terms of identifying if this person or person should be apprehended under the Mental Health Act. And if they are, if the decision is to apprehend them under the Mental Health Act, we are there to conduct that apprehension. Nadine is with us to go to the hospital, to talk to the doctors at the hospital, to show and talk about the indicia that the person was showing. So that helps to expedite the process of getting these people access to mental health care. So it's been an excellent program.
Yes.
So you touched on what one of my question was. So I believe in the past when we were introduced to this program, it was on a part-time basis. Is that still applicable, or is she now, full-time, whatever that clarifies to you in the police department? And you said you applied for a grant for the second one, and is it the same scenario? So would that person be part-time or full-time?
So right now we have our worker works 5 days a week, and we share, this is a partnership with OPP and Almer Police. So we share Nadine, our MCERT worker, with Almer Police. So Monday, Tuesday, she's with the OPP. Wednesday, she's with Almer. Thursday, Friday, she's with us, and during the day. So 8 to 4 are the hours. What the grant expansion will allow us to do is to try to enhance those hours. So we're going to have coverage. We're going to try to make it basically from 7 to 3 and 3 to 11. So we'll have 2 shifts with an overlapping hour of coverage. And that gives them the opportunity to discuss any issues or ongoing issues, to make sure that follow-up is being conducted with some of these ongoing cases that we have. And we don't have the capacity right now to have it 24/7, but I think the additional worker and spreading the hours out, again, we've come up with those hours based on the analytics. So when we look at our calls for service and engage our regional analysts to see when are our peak times for dealing with mental health crisis calls, believe it or not, it seems to be around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know why, but that's what the data shows us. So we try to have that overlapping coverage to cover off those busy times when we're experiencing our highest call volume. So the grant will allow us for the second worker.
Okay, and you mentioned that your focus is a victim-centered approach. So is that your first step is an education, community education-based program before you go to some type of a disciplinary measure when you talked about that?
That's right. And that's with basically our approach to what we're trying to do with everything. So even in terms of traffic enforcement, we have a big education piece because education is key. Then we have the high visibility piece of it. Then we have the proactive enforcement if there's continued issues and problems. How we're dealing with victims of crime, how we're dealing with victims from domestic abuse, and is very victim-centered. We're concerned, and we don't want to see victims be re-victimized because the police get involved. So they're already a victim of whatever they're experiencing. And then we get them engaged into the criminal justice system, and now they're re-victimized through this process itself. So that's why when I say victim-centered approach, we truly mean we want to protect the victim as much as possible and help them navigate the whole criminal justice proceeding, making sure safety plans are in place, that we have the ability to provide resources for them if it's an exigent means to get them out of a dangerous or volatile situation, that we have follow-up care either through our MCERT worker or through community like Elgin Victim Services or other groups that are going to help support us to support the victims. So we're really, that close partnership is essential. Just as we are meeting today, those are the meetings that are taking place with all of our other stakeholders to make sure that we are basically one unit to have a unified response to help our community.
Good morning. Thank you again for coming. That's great. You've come out to West Elgin to let us know what's going on. I have a question about school safety. I know with COVID, they weren't having too much go on with the community policing. So I'm wondering what you can tell me that you're reaching out to our local schools, our 3 local schools, to see, especially since we have new principals at, I believe, 2 of them. So see what, are you able to do that during this time? I know they're kind of just slowly integrating things back into schools. So
that's a good question. It's been kind of, we've been really taking a cautious approach towards schools. Just with everything going on and the media attention, there's been schools that have not wanted any police presence or CSOs whatsoever. Locally at Detachment, we've had a vacancy in our community services officer position. We have a new officer that's in that role now, and I'm hoping that we can start to integrate that member more and reach out to the schools to see if there's interest to have the OPP present. We're more than willing and want to be engaged with our youth and with the schools. I just want to make sure from our position that we're not overstepping our bounds and pushing it on the school. We've had some success, and actually the principal, I'll give you an example for one of our schools in our East End, reached out to me and wanted the police to attend a community event. And we were more than happy to attend that event. I went personally to make sure that it would be a success. And we were with the students while they were conducting basically a school project to build a boat. And then I made sure that when it was the date to launch that boat, that our marine unit was there, just so they could see we are more than willing and eager to engage. It's just taking the appropriate steps and making sure that we're not overstepping our boundaries. And now that we do have a CSO, it may be just a matter of me now also reaching out to some of the different principals to see what their level of engagement or appetite is to have the OPP back in the schools are.
Other questions? Well, thank you very much. I think that from West Elgin Council that we should take this opportunity to publicly thank Ida for her representing us in Western Elgin County. Certainly, I know that Ida is very capable and competent representative that brings the interests of people to the Police Services Board. And I'm not letting you off the hook, Ida. I know you don't have a microphone there, but from your perspective, is there anything that you would like to say to the council?
Anytime there's anything you need, I'm always available. Just contact me and I will try and help out in any way I can. Thanks.
Well, again, thank you very much, Ida, for taking this role on. You know, I know you're a very, very busy individual, and
Everybody is.
everybody is, and it always seems that you know, these meetings always come right when something is happening that you go, oh my God, I got to go to a meeting, I got to do this, how am I going to do all this? And so it's a big commitment, and thank you very much for doing it.
Thank you very much.
And okay, so seeing no further questions, I guess just one comment. I'll go around the table here. Since the ATV unit has come into force in West Elgin, has anybody been receiving, or has the staff been receiving any complaints?
I've had a couple complaints regarding, I believe there was some tickets given out, and I dealt with those calls, but thank you for helping to keep our trails safe. So they don't follow the rules, there's consequences.
Yeah, I think that with the establishing the ATV unit has changed the landscape dramatically, that now it's not the Wild West where anything goes. You have to behave yourself now, and that certainly has reflected in the number of complaints that we receive. So good job all the way around. Seeing nothing else, I know that you all have busy schedules. Anything you want to add, Julie? Okay. And, you know, continuing on with the status quo when it comes to the makeup of the Police Services Board, I think that was that was well thought out at the start of the being involved with the Police Services Board. And, you know, that was an interesting time in history that we didn't know anything about the police, and the police didn't know anything about us. And it was kind of an interesting meeting when we all sat down for the first time and looked at each other and went, oh my God, we're all on the same side. And it's been a good relationship ever since. So with that, thank you very much again, and keep up the good work. And we know that you're just one call away.
Thanks for having us.
All right. We're going to move right along. Our next deputation is from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Not sure who is going to be the overall spokesman, but you have the floor.
Thanks. It won't be me doing all the speaking. Tracy's far more articulate than I am. I'm Greg Fenty. I'm the Vice President of the Elgin Federation of Agriculture. You've probably heard of us, but maybe not of me, and that's maybe for the better. We have about 1,100 farm members in our county, and we are the county affiliate to the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. And there's 33,000 members, I believe, in the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. One of the things that we've been working on is trying to preserve farmland in the face of the development we're dealing with. We have Zone 4 Director Tracy Arts here. She's an Oxford girl, but she's very good. And she'd like to tell you some stuff about farmland preservation. And then afterwards, I might share some contact information just in case you enjoy us and want to get a hold of us later.
Okay, welcome, Tracy.
Morning, everybody, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors. Thank you for having us this morning. So just a little bit of clarification, so everybody kind of does everything a little bit different. I do have a slide deck to share. Would you like me to share that, or do you guys do that this morning?
I can share that if you want, Tracy.
Perfect, thank you.
Just tell me when to change it.
Will do. Okay, so my name is Tracy Arts. I'll give you a second, sorry. Okay, so my name is Tracy Arts, and I am the OFA Zone Director for Elgin and Oxford County. Next slide, please. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture represents more than 38,000 farm families. Here in Elgin, we represent over 1,100 farm families, and in Oxford County, more than 1,400 farm families. We work to ensure the agri-food sector is included and consulted in any legislation that impacts the sustainability of our farm businesses. Next slide. In May of this year, OFA launched our homegrown campaign. Our key messages focused on preserving and protecting farmland and food production. It was a digital campaign that was promoted across media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. In addition to those key messages, it also communicated the detrimental impacts urban growth has on our finite agricultural resources. Homegrown was a call to action for people to support the need to protect farms and food forever. The target audience is urban consumers, and to date, there is over 17,000 signatures in support of farmland preservation, and these signatures are largely urban. Next slide. Ontario's agricultural lands are finite and they are shrinking. Ontario cannot sustain continuing losses of agricultural land while maintaining our ability to produce food, fiber, and fuel. The 2016 census of agriculture revealed that Ontario farms encompass 12.3 million acres, or that's less than 5% of Ontario's land area. Comparing the 2011 and 2016 census, showed a decline in the area of farms that's equivalent to 175 acres a day. Ontario is losing some of its most productive agricultural land. That's class 1, 2, and 3. When agricultural land is paved or built over, it is lost forever. Agriculture produces more than 200 commodities. Next slide. Even though we occupy less than 5% of Ontario's overall area, agriculture and agri-food processing are Ontario's #1 economic drivers. In 2019, Ontario's agriculture and agri-food sector from field to fork contributed more than $47 billion to Ontario's economy and supported more than 860,000 jobs. This is bigger than the automotive industry in Ontario. Decision makers must never lose sight of this reality when making decisions about future agricultural land loss to accommodate population and employment growth. OFA endorses the agriculture policies in the provincial policy statement, which state that in prime agriculture areas, all types, sizes, and intensity of any agriculture uses for normal farm practices shall be promoted and protected. Next slide. The local planning process provides the framework for balanced consideration of land use in agriculture and development. It allows our members and our local federations to provide the opportunity to provide input on ag impacts. Yet despite the existing provisions of the local planning process, we are still losing agricultural lands in Ontario at a rate that is not sustainable, and our long-term food security and economic viability is to be protected. Minister's zoning orders short circuit our long established planning principles and policies. MZOs are short-sighted, and the OFA cannot stress strongly enough that we are not in support of using them to take farmland out of production. MZOs prevents councils from having any say or the ability to appeal the MZOs. Next slide. Only 14% of countries in the world are self-sufficient and have excess crop production. Many countries are not in a position to meet their own domestic food production needs. Canada and Ontario are actually producing a surplus. This sets up a favorable export market for Ontario's agriculture goods, which is one reason why our sector is in such an important part of the Ontario's economy. We need these lands to remain in agricultural production if we are to continue to be the economic driver in Ontario's economy. The world's population is projected to rise to 9.8 billion by 2050, underlying the need to keep Ontario's highly productive agricultural land producing food for Ontario, Canada, and the world. The local planning process is a tool that helps ensure that these lands are protected for this use. Next slide. We cannot continue to lose agricultural lands at a rate of 175 acres a day. OFA expresses deep-seated concern for the recent proliferation of MZOs being used. MZOs eliminate the conversation around whether proposed growth can be accommodated through intensification, redevelopment, and designated growth areas, particularly now that the requirement for compliance with the provincial policy statement has been removed. Use of MZOs, as we've been seeing them lately, do not provide adequate framework for understanding the impacts of taking land out of production. When these lands are left in agricultural productions, they have the potential to continue to produce food, jobs, environmental benefits forever. This is not a potential that should be looked over hastily. Next slide, please. OFA makes the following recommendations to municipalities. Fix permanent urban boundaries for all settlement areas. The requirement for using existing green fields before new lands are designated. An adoption of a broader province-wide policy to distribute urban growth more evenly across Ontario. Next slide, please. OFA believes providing advanced public notice for MZOs and any amendments to them is important. MZOs weaken the local planning process by providing developers and municipalities with workaround that could cause poor outcomes later. Next slide, please. Once a farmland is turned into a shopping center or a warehouse or a subdivision, it will never produce food again. We lose the food, fiber, and fuel that was grown on that land permanently. I would like to mention Waterloo Region and their protected countryside policy. For decades now, they have been a leader in identifying key agriculture areas, developing hard countryside lines, and still growing their urban boundary areas and high quality sector. I believe this is something we can do here. They gain people's support by setting up a process that allows a transition for a better intensification. Aside from food production, farmland provides an expansive list of environmental benefits to all Ontarians. Next slide. Once ag lands are taken out of production, ecological benefits like wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration, climate change mitigation, and groundwater recharge are no longer possible on that land. These are benefits that benefits all of Ontarians, not just farmers. Next slide, please. The COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the demand for local food production. Consumers are increasingly looking for locally grown produce, meats, and dairy products. Next slide. Bottom line here, we are down to less than 5% of Ontario's land base that can be suitable for agri-food and all the jobs, economic benefit, environmental impact, and food security that land can provide. Next slide. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for having us here today. If you have any questions, please contact us at any time. And you can ask us here today as well. My email address is on the bottom, and I think Greg is going to provide us with Elgin's email address as well. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we'll just stop right there. Are there any questions that members of council could have for our guests? Bonnie?
Thank you for the presentation, and you're probably speaking to the converted already here in this rural area. I think our council would agree that protecting our prime agriculture land is vital. I just wondered, I believe that the OFA's stance on this issue has changed over time, and I just wonder what the current stance is of the OFA with regard to use of prime agricultural land to put industrial wind turbines and industrial solar complexes.
I think the stance is the same across the board, that farmland should be protected.
Thank you.
And we don't have a class, like all classes, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's just, it's all should be protected.
Angela?
Thank you for your presentation. I've noticed recently a growing trend with realtors promoting viable farmland as come and build your home on 50-acre, 100-acre parcels. As the OFA or the Elgin Federation of Farmers, are they working with the Ontario Real Estate Association to educate realtors on why you shouldn't promote trying to sell farmland as come and build your $1 million home on, so that we're not taking viable farmland out of use?
I can answer it for, that's part of our homegrown campaign at OFA, is just as a whole why farmland shouldn't be taken out of production for some of the reasons that I said there, for the environmental benefits, for the food production end of it. We need to look at the bigger picture here. If we take it all out of production, where's our food going to come from? If the pandemic has done nothing else but stress that we need it to come from here, from locally sourced. Not to knock it, but when things got real tough at the start of the pandemic, other countries kept it for themselves, as they should, right? And that's where we need to do here, is we need to protect ourselves too. And we know when we grow our food, what is put into it and what is where it comes from, and that it's safe and it's healthy. And that's part of why we need it to be grown from home, right? And that's part of the homegrown campaign, is to show that. So working with them specifically, no, but working with it as a whole is a homegrown campaign.
So is there a consideration that perhaps maybe you could work with the real estate associations to educate realtors on this process? As a fellow farmer and food producer, I find a lot of times that realtors are really knowledgeable on farm practices and why we need to protect them. And when I, have that conversation, especially with some here in West Elgin, it's just about the money to them. It's not about preserving the land and the use of the land.
I could definitely take that back to the board and make a suggestion. That's not a problem at all. Yeah.
From
Thank you.
Elgin Federation perspective, I really like that idea. Appreciate it. And I would like to take it back to the board and raise that, because I never thought of that. And that's a great idea. And I may ask you to be a delegate to bring that up, because it looks better when somebody on the outside comes up with an idea.
That's
as well.
fine.
So
I'm
that's
a member of the Elgin Federation of Farmers. You can reach out to me either through my council or through my personal.
Thank you very much.
Just on the heels of that, I think one concern that I have is we seem to have the migration of urban people moving into our rural communities. Certainly not being familiar with and used to normal farm practices. Do you feel that we have enough safeguards in place, or do we need to be lobbying for more safeguards to ensure that people our farmers within West Elgin or within Elgin, Oxford are protected in the fact that they can go about their farming practices without certainly our staff and because we are on the front line getting complaints from people that don't understand what goes on in rural communities. Do you feel that we have got enough safeguards in place, or do we need to keep striving for further protection for our farmers that we can continue on producing food for society?
If you don't mind me taking that one, Tracy,
Sure.
at this point, the law says that we're able to, perform our general farming practices. My concern would be the erosion of that. It doesn't take too many rich people coming out and getting upset that I'm spreading manure on a Saturday afternoon. Not that I would try to ruin a barbecue, but it wouldn't take very long before somebody could wield their strength into power here. So I would like to say we strive to maintain the protections that we have. I don't know if we need to push harder, but we need to continue pushing that hard to maintain what we have. Tracy, did you have a different?
Yeah, I actually would like to add on that. And I've had some conversations too, because I'm also a dairy farmer as well. And we've had complaints when, we're spreading manure or we're working the land because of the dust and that. And I wouldn't mind seeing, airports have it where they have the nuisance law, or where people complain when we're just, something like that come into play where they can no longer complain when we're just doing our normal farm practices. It would be nice to see that, so that we don't have that issue anymore, or less of those issues. So when they're moving out into the country, that just us doing our normal farm practices aren't hindered anymore by silly complaints, because we are kind of on a time constraint to get crops in or crops off, or even to spread manure and that kind of stuff. And it'd be kind of nice to have something in a safeguard that way for us.
Well, that's kind of what my thought process is here, because everything that we have in society now comes with a copious amounts of warning labels on it. And is there some way that we can possibly ensure that when someone moves into a community that they're made aware of this potential, and so there's no surprises to anyone? Is that something that OFA can be working on to make sure that everybody understands what goes on here, and aren't surprised when, yes, there is dust, or maybe there is a slight exactly. I think that when the rest of society makes sure that everybody is warned ahead of time, that don't put a sharp object in your ear, that we seem to be a society that's going that direction. Why we are not ensuring that when someone moves into our community, that they're made aware that this is a rural community and the business of farming will go on 24/7, and could be a short-term aggravation, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, I know we're working on the road safety, that kind of stuff. I think with the nuisance that comes more of a municipality level than at an OFA level. I think that's where the problem with those ones are. I can definitely look into it more and check at the OFA level. Some of it's been discussed. It's just the different levels of where it can come from, right? But yeah, I definitely don't have a problem talking more at the board level about it as well.
One more question that I have. I know that the information that you provided us to this morning regarding farmland and 175 acres a day that's being transformed into something else. Has the Elgin Oxford Federation taken that down to a local level here as to how much farmland we're losing within our jurisdiction. Certainly bringing it closer to home maybe is something that we want to consider, that this is how much you're losing right here.
I know for the Oxford board, we haven't done it as in the area, other than there's a ton of it coming up right now. And Elgin, every time we go to board, and Greg can speak to it a little bit better than probably think, but every time we have a board meeting, there's more that we see coming up. There's just a ton of land period right now coming up for development or going into factories or whatever. It's alarming and it's scary to see what's coming up to be developed. But no, I don't have an exact percentage of like what OFA does for the 175 acres a day. I don't have that exact number, no.
Well, I think that's certainly something that would be useful to me to and to council as they're going through their official plans, that we fully recognize how much land we are or are not losing in our communities, so we can use that when we're working on our official plans. Do we have a problem? Do we not have a problem? Are we making planning decisions in West Elgin on GTA pressures that they have? I think that we need to define it down into a smaller piece that actually means something to those individuals like ourselves that are sitting around the table trying to determine where best to expand a settlement area or create an industrial area. And I think that would be very, very helpful. The information is probably available somewhere. It's just a matter of looking to see if we can find it. Okay, any other questions for our guests here? I think we've had a good discussion around the table this morning, and you had some additional contact information that you wanted.
Just to mention, if you'd like to get all of us, Tracy provided her email, and you can obviously go on the OFA, see their stuff. The Federation of Agriculture, also the website, and it'll have our phone number and our email on it, and all the board of directors on it as well. We have a Facebook page. The content is uploaded more regularly when it's raining, because when I'm busy in the field, I don't do it often. So if there's any way to reach out to us, I just want to provide that, and happy to share a relationship here.
I know there's some of your members have obviously have my number on speed dial, because anything that seems to pop up that just doesn't smell right, my phone starts ringing right off the bat. So keep that coming, and certainly if this council can be of any assistance to your cause, I think it's something that we all recognize around the table here. That's very important to not only Ontario but to our local community. So as Councillor Rowe had mentioned earlier, you are speaking to a friendly crowd that believes in your cause and are willing to assist you however we can.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. See you later. What do you want me to do now? I'm just going to tell everybody to take a break, but people on the audience.
Okay, well, Sam's ready for his presentation.
Sam,
Unless
take a
he's-
break, Sam.
We're recessing?
Yes.
Okay.
I will link Garrett for like an hour or two, but he will FaceTime times. Says he's okay, you just, what you
Yeah.
know.
I used to leave my kids, but they kept finding their way home. Different times.
Keep taking them further.
Yeah, I just had to keep. Okay, well, next item up here, welcome back. You ready to go there, Madam Clerk? Okay, I have, next item on our agenda is the adoption of the minutes. Recommended that the minutes of the council meeting on October 28th, 2021 and committee of the whole of November 4th, 2021 be adopted as circulated and printed. Mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Tellier and seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried. Okay.
Time of the closed out report.
Got to keep them straight. Okay. Next item up. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Mayor,
How's everything in your world?
not too bad.
Ah,
Bad.
good. Excellent. We'll read the report after you make your presentation.
We're starting with the water, Sam.
Wastewater treatment. Well, I do have West Elgin distribution system.
Are you going to start with
Well,
the distribution?
Yeah, that's what we've got in our agenda here is water West Elgin distribution system, third quarter report.
Okie dokie. So we obviously had a lot going on in the water side of things in third quarter, and we'll get to that. But starting at the top of the report, we had no compliance issues, no exceedances or anything like that to report, no inspections. And then we did have a management review on July 22nd. And we found 2 OFIs, but new 0 non-performances. As you can see, it's important to note this time around reviewing this quarter that there was 0 issues on the sampling side of things. THMs, E. coli, protocol forms were all good. Everything water quality wise was within the ranges and regulations. As far as maintenance goes, we did our blow-offs and things like that. We did a live tap on Pioneer Line just outside of West Lorne. We did some offsets with Van Breed during the stormwater work in Rodney. We did 4 of those, I believe. And then the beginning of September, we started to experience some colored water issues brought on by the lake conditions. As far as alarms go, alarm or after hours calls, a contractor did hit a service across the road from the St. Mary's Catholic School. We were able to get that fixed up quickly with no issues. And then community complaints, fairly generalized here, but of course we did have the widespread discolored water issues. As far as the report goes, that's all I have on the distribution system.
Okay. Any questions for Sam on his report? Bonnie?
What's an offset?
So it's just I guess it's a water term, I guess, or construction term. So the water main was in the way of the stormwater. Water mains are pressurized, so we don't have to worry about fall or slope for flow, where stormwater you do. So you can't move a stormwater because the water main's in the way. What you do is you move the water main out of the way. So we just had to either go down, or it's typically down below it or above it, just kind of manipulate the pipe with fittings to get it out of the way of the stormwater pond or stormwater piping.
Any other questions on the West Elgin distribution system? Don't know. Seeing none. Okay, with that, we have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report. Sam Smith, Aqua RE Water Drinking Water Distribution System 2021 third quarter report for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, Rodney Wastewater Treatment Plant, third quarter report.
Okay, so again, we had no compliance issues to report, no inspections. Flows are up a little bit. We did have a very, very wet July. As you can see, flows were way up in July compared to last year and in June, actually. This equated to about a 36% increase from the year before. But as we continue on throughout this year, that will probably level off and it won't be quite that high. As far as lab results go, like I said, everything has been in compliance and under the limits. No issues there. As far as general maintenance goes, we just continue to maintain operations and maintenance to, until this upgrade happens, and we're doing pretty well at that so far. There's nothing major. Had to replace a pump or two here or there, but nothing crazy. As far as alarms, no major issues there. We did have a power outage on September 14th, and we were able to get everything back up and running there, and no community complaints.
Okay, any update you can give us on the upgrade that's going to take place? Where are we at with it?
Yeah, Magda could probably answer a little better than me, but I guess we are both kind of on the same page. We were waiting for RV Anderson to submit their preliminary design, which I believe they are hoping to do within short order here. We did have a site meeting where we did a walkthrough. RV Anderson gave us their plan. It's pretty close to what Aqua was proposing. They've kind of changed the schedule around a little bit, but I'm in agreement with it. And yeah, we're just excited to get it going, and RV Anderson is working on their preliminary design to get ready for, I believe they do preliminary with preliminary cost estimates. The municipality will review that. I'm sure I'll be involved in that. And then once that's kind of approved, then they get into their major design. They get ready to go for tenders and things like that for their contractors. And then I believe they are still planning on starting construction in 2022.
That's Richard.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Richard.
Is there any anything been learned from the West Lawn sewage treatment plant that you say, wow, we really need that one in Rodney?
No, I believe as far as the process, we're not really changing processes. This isn't RV Anderson's, the West Orange sewage plant was in their first gig. So, they're constantly learning from different experiences. But as far as operations go, the bones of a good process is in Rodney. So we just need to improve with newer technologies where we can, repair and replace parts of the process that need it desperately. And it's the plant itself is going to be just fine. There's nothing major that we need to focus on. So, West Lauren went relatively smoothly. It's just the process of continuing to work. RV Anderson needs to keep Aqua involved so that we can give our inputs and things like that. And I think everything should be just fine. So it's the same as West Lauren. West Lauren was a successful upgrade or an update, whatever you want to call it. So I think if we just continue that relationship between the municipality, Aqua, and RV Anderson, then it should go smoothly.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yep.
Bonnie?
Thanks, Sam. I just wanted to stress with you, and I have spoken to Magda about this as well, that as you work through this project in Rodney, I want to, talk about the elimination of the Phragmites around the pond there, and also continue to be connected with the West Elgin Nature Club with regard to their projects that they had proposed. So, thank you.
Yeah, through you, your chair, we did, on our site meeting, we did speak with the engineers regarding the lagoon clean out, the Phragmites control, and involving the nature club. They have experience with this type of thing, where they have even gone as far as they've done projects where they've actually turned sewage lagoons into nature preserves. It's kind of been like a decommissioned sewage lagoon and turned into wetlands. And of course they've been told by Magda that, that they need to engage the nature club. And hopefully we can find common ground to, keep it as a good spot for nature. We just need to continue to keep in mind that this is a sewage works. We are limited to what we can do, but I know that everybody's invested in doing the best we can.
Okay, Sam, on this redevelopment of the Rodney plant, one of our biggest overhead costs is energy costs. Has there ever been any thought to the fact that we do have land there, and has there ever been any thought of looking around in the grant cupboard to see if there's any money available for alternative energy support for a plant like that?
Not on Aqua's side. I mean, we're focused on the process and optimizing the energy there, and that will be a major part of the upgrades. The one major thing is putting blowers in instead of mechanical mixers. So we're always looking for energy efficiencies within the process. As far as supplying power via solar power or something like that, I think that would have to be something that we'd have to sit down and discuss and look for, but I don't know that Aqua would be typically looking for that sort of grant or anything. It would almost have to come down to the municipality, but we obviously would try to support or do whatever we could to assist in that. But as far as energy efficiencies, we're focusing on the current setup and the processes that are there.
And that's very commendable that through the process that we're doing that, bringing it up to the most energy efficient facility that we can. But should we be asking the question, is there a possibility of adding on to that another form of captured energy that we're not relying on the grid, and Magna's not signing the check to Ontario Hydro for power? Is that something that is that something that maybe, Magda, you could have a discussion with RV Anderson just to see if that has been done in the past, or there's a potential to do that? Because that's, as far as I see, to put our costs of wastewater management and trying to keep them as low as we can, we do have to every once in a while think outside the box and see if there's an alternative way that we can do that.
Absolutely.
We know that power is not going to get any cheaper.
Correct. Yeah, that's absolutely something that I can ask the question on the Aqua side. I don't know that we've ever done a project like that. Now I shouldn't say that we've done. They're constantly looking for. So it's kind of along the same lines, but it's a little different. So I know that Aqua at these larger plants, it's an expensive thing to do, but the payback is pretty good. I don't know how it would work at a smaller plant like Rodney, but there's energy opportunities like the sewage plant produces waste. We produce a nice clean effluent, but there's still waste that's stored at somehow, like so in Rodney, for example, it's stored in the lagoon. I know the Stratford sewage plant has installed a system that captures and burns, I believe, the waste and turns it into natural gas. So Aqua is always looking at that opportunity. I don't know that it's feasible at a smaller plant, but even outside that box, to look into additional power sources is definitely something that I will ask and bring to Magda.
Okay. Any other questions for Sam on this? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Sam Smith, Aqua RE Rodney Wastewater Treatment Plant 2021 third quarter report for information purposes. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Cameron, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. Let's talk about West Lauren.
West Lauren, same thing, no compliance issues, no inspections. All our lab results have been in check. The flows are up just slightly compared to 2019 or 2020, sorry. Again, we did have a big June and July where we did exceed the design flow. All that means is that we just have to sample, but those samples have always come back fine. As far as maintenance goes, the one thing I do want to point out, and I believe I pointed it out last time, we did have a major power issue at the pump station. It was costly. We were able to get everything back up and running with some emergency repairs. I know we talked about it last time about perhaps a insurance claim. I don't believe it met your deductible, but what I was able to do was I was able to move some things around from our capital recommendations and get it paid for through that, so it's not a shock to your reserves or anything like that. We just moved some, not so like we did a survey of the collection system in 2019. I had it recommended that we do another one this year. Wasn't really necessary. Not a lot would have changed from 2019 to 2021. So that was a $20,000 item that we scrapped in favor of paying for all the repairs at the pump station. And I spoke with Magda on that. So other than that, the place is running great. Obviously, a couple $1 million had just been spent there, so that's not unexpected. We are just having some nuisance alarms that we're trying to get figured out, but as far as process and effluent quality goes, the West Orange sewage plant is working top notch.
Cool. Funny.
Speaking of alarms, there seems to be an awful lot of alarms there for a facility that had major repairs recently. Is the capital work complete now? And is it expected that all of these alarms should be running with a newly repaired facility?
It is. Everything, the capital work is complete. There's some stuff, residual stuff left over that probably won't affect these alarms. The problem we're having is it's a SCADA issue. We're getting communication alarms. We're not getting very far. We're trying to work with the SCADA provider to figure out what the issue is. And unfortunately, that is the cause of most of these alarms. I will say it's kind of a secondary effect of upgrading a facility is that, and it ultimately makes for a better effluent quality, but because of the upgrades, there's a lot more things that are alarmed. So when there is unforeseen issues, not that it's not under the control of the operator running the plant, things like blower faults and dissolved oxygen, low levels and things like that. We do get alarms now. Ultimately, in the past, those would have gone undetected until the next time the operator was on site, causing low effluent quality. But now because it's alarmed, we're able to respond in a timely manner to get those corrected, and the effluent quality remains excellent. It's just kind of unfortunate that they do happen. We continue to, it does take some time to optimize these, these new processes or new systems within the process to allow for these, so we can prevent these alarms. But most of them are just things that before wouldn't have been alarmed and would have gone unnoticed, causing some effluent issues.
Through the chair, just a question for Sam. SCADA system in West Lorne sewage. That system was part of our capital refurbishment back 2 years ago. Shouldn't we have RV Anderson involved, as they're the ones that had the contractor involved?
Yeah, we have been involving them. It's typically they defer to the contractor that supplied it. But I can, it's not that we're having trouble with them. It's TNT Power is the one that's having trouble figuring out, isolating what the issue is. It's not that we're having trouble communicating or anything like that with TNT Power. But we do involve RV Anderson, but they're not the SCADA experts. They would defer to the contractor that was hired to develop the SCADA system.
Okay. I do have a recommendation here that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Sam Smith Aqua, RE West Lorne Wastewater Treatment Plant 2021 third quarter report for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Camerton, seconded by Rowe. All in favor, and that is carried. One other item, Sam, that we've got you here, and I think this is the first time maybe some of council has even heard of this situation, that we had an emergency exercise with our control group here a week or so ago. And it was identified that potentially we should have a standalone emergency plan for the water treatment plant. If there is a serious malfunction, or we have toxins in the lake that render the plant and the water that it's producing dangerous to the public, I really, it was the opinion of the emergency control group that Tri-County should be sitting down and we should be writing an emergency plan specific for water. What are your thoughts as a valued person that council appreciates your insight? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's probably a great idea, to be honest. I mean, Tri-County, like Aqua obviously has their SOPs and their contingency plans and emergency plans that would, cover off that. But ultimately how it really works is that Aqua provides notification to Tri-County, I believe anyways, and then Tri-County provides notification to the municipalities. Aqua's involvement would be saying water quality is this, and this is what needs to happen. Either do not drink or boil water or something like that. There needs to be a contingency on how. I think the biggest thing would be is the communication part of it. How is that communicated to the public? How is Tri-County communicating that to their member municipalities? I think as far as the technical aspect of it, Aqua has its own emergency plans and contingency plans, like I said. But I think, in my opinion, and from what I've heard, because it's difficult because I'm speaking to you as West Elgin. I do have minor involvement in the Tri-County thing. I also speak to Southwest Middlesex as their operating authority. And I know that they questioned the Tri-County side of things on the communication, how it comes out to the member municipality. So I think that would probably be something to focus on as the Tri-County board, in my opinion, is that continued communication of water quality from the Tri-County plan.
Just so you know, Sam, too, Susan and I have been in contact, and we're working together to produce something for the next Tri-County board involving that, like your SOPs and your plans, as well as where we are for Tri-County.
Yeah, I think that Aqua is very well placed to say, we've got a problem, Houston. But I think that the devil is in the details, and those details, as far as I'm concerned, is, as you said, notification of our public that there is a problem. How do we best deal with that? The other thing, if it's a prolonged problem, how do we work to ensure that a significant amount of bottled water is available? Where do we source that? How do we transport that? Where do we deliver that from? And certainly it's not just it's not just going to be a West Elgin problem. It's going to be a Tri-County problem. And I think that the onus lays back to Tri-County to be able to have that working emergency plan in place that hopefully we'll never need it. But I know that if anything ever transpired, there'd be a lot of finger pointing. Why didn't you do something before the disaster hit? So we'll be bringing that to our next Tri-County meeting and see where it takes us. Any questions?
Yeah, and I don't mean to put it back, like try to deflect it from Aqua at all. I mean, obviously Aqua would be there side by side with whoever was dealing with this, right? Like but I just mean on the communication side of things, it does need to come, I believe, from the Tri-County plant and such. But not to deflect any responsibility off Aqua would obviously be there side by side, helping you deal with it. I believe I was wearing many hats the week of the water issue. I was representing West Elgin. I was representing Southwest Middlesex. I was acting regional manager. I was acting senior ops manager at Tri-County. I believe that we did a pretty good job. It was obviously a learning experience, but I think that as far as how quick we were able to get communication out to the public, Aqua Corporate helped wording with Jana and Magda. That part, there's obviously always room for improvement in an emergency like that. I think that's the best time to learn, unfortunately, but I think we did a pretty good job. There's just obviously always going to be room for improvement, and I think it's a good idea that Tri-County sits down and figures it out. And I know that Aqua will help, like Janice said. Susan's on it. We have vast resources across the province that can not only help Tri-County figure out how to prevent this maybe in the future, whether it costs millions of dollars or maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but also on the communication procedural side of things, I'm sure that we can help out and do something. So
yeah, well, certainly, and I think that in an overall emergency plan, I'll guarantee you that Aqua's contact numbers will probably be on the first page at the very top.
I would imagine.
So, yeah, so that's good, Sam. Certainly, I think that hopefully there'll be some more work done on that, and I know that by default you're going to be part and parcel of that overall program. So
absolutely,
thank you. So any other questions for Sam before we turn him loose and he can go around looking for leaks in the system? Seeing none, thank you, Sam. Have a
Thanks,
great
everybody.
day.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, next item up, Jackie, there you are.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good, you haven't got your hard hat on this morning.
Not at the moment, nope.
No. Okay, Jackie, you have a report regarding the activities for October. Anybody
Yes.
have any questions for Jackie on those, those reports? What are unspecified permits?
That might be something that was not categorized properly when I filled out the form in Keystone, so I can go back and double check that.
Well, it's just, if somebody goes to the trouble of building something and building inspector says, what are you gonna do? And they say, I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes
So-
the structure isn't detailed in the stats can list of structures, and so unspecified times the best way to categorize it, so.
Okay, that's cool. I just was something that I was trying to clarify in my own mind. Any other questions for Jackie? Anything you want to add additional to the report, Jackie?
Nope. October ended as you see it. We've issued 8 permits in November already, and there's 8 under review still in the wings. So we're still plugging away as we are.
And I see we're building monthly on our total over 2020, so that's a good thing too.
Yes.
I might have one question.
All right, you could have more than one if you want, Richard.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I just have one question, and if you have a building lot and somebody wants to put a new house on it, and there are some existing buildings there, and I realize you have to have setbacks off with a new building,
Uh-huh.
but if you look at some of the old buildings that may have been there 50, 70 years, and they're still in good repair,
Okay.
and if they're too near the lot line, which they weren't too near the lot line when they were erected, what about those? Are they staying where they are, or are you going to try to move them?
So typically that would be a legal non-conforming or legal non-complying situation. So those buildings would be allowed to remain. So unless they're going to be added onto, or a change of use is being proposed, or some type of construction that may impact the location of them in relation to the property line, but typically they get to stay where they are.
Okay, thank you. Because, all the old houses, when I look around, when I'm traveling around, have old buildings which are fairly close to a lot line. And so unless it happens with them all, it's really a hornet's nest.
Yes, it really impacts additions to these buildings as far as that goes. Sometimes building code will dictate like a fire rated wall, for instance, might be a requirement because of how close it is to a property line, things like that. So it just, but as far as zoning goes, again, as long as you don't reduce the setback further, when you're doing an addition, for instance, then typically the existing is allowed to stay as a legal non-complying or legal non-conforming.
Okay, thank you very much. That's what I needed to know.
Okay, you're welcome.
That it? Okay, thank you very much, Jackie. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
I do have a recommendation of West Island Council hereby receives the report from CBO, building permit reports for October 21 for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Lethan, seconded by Rowe. All in favor? That is carried. Hello, Jeff.
Oh, good morning, Your Worship.
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Good. Good morning, Your Worship and Council.
Okay, we have your report. Anything, council has any questions regarding Jeff's report? Yes, Angela?
Thank you for the information. I noticed under other activities, you list that bunker gear is to be purchased in the fall. So I guess I'm inquiring if that has been purchased and if you had a cost estimate for council, if we were going to be approving that.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, with So I talked to Magda about, we, from the previous report, I think that was brought to council in late of 2020, I believe. It did mention our 2022 bunker gear needs. When we bought those 20 suits, it did cover a portion of that. But that combined with the, I think I mentioned that, yeah, the long order timeline. So we're looking at possibly up to 8 months to get that bunker gear delivered, when typically it's somewhere in the, used to be in the 8 to 10, maybe 12-week range. So that's obviously a challenge to make sure we're properly equipped. So so the actually the fitting will be this weekend. We've got it scheduled for I believe it's 8 suits, but we're not expecting that delivery until probably the summer of 2022. And we have, on a positive note, about the pricing. The pricing is going to be very similar to the last order. There's a bit of an increase with material costs, but we've offset some of that with, we're joining up with at least 2 other Elgin County fire departments, possibly more, but there's definitely West Elgin and 2 other departments that are going into a joint order. So we'll be getting a, I believe it's a 9 or 10% quantity discount. So I hope that kind of answers the question for you.
So you're looking at another $30,000 purchase. If I go back to the 2020 budget, that's the line item that was listed in there.
So we are, I'm just doing some quick math here. We're looking at approximately, if there's about a $20,000 purchase for 8 suits. That doesn't include probably tax or shipping, but that would be the approximate cost.
How you want to handle it? You want to give them an approval right now? Because
That's what I'm asking.
as you need, and then everybody knows what's what, that, what's that?
If you want to do, if you want to do an approval, if you want to do an approval for purchase like that, the resolution needs to have the amount in
Okay,
it.
well, let's put it this way, Jeff, can you come back with a firm figure of what you're going to require in our next council meeting? We can pre-approve expenditures for the bunker gear.
For sure. And yeah, my apologies for any confusion. I guess Magda and I did discuss it, and we just with the timelines is not something we normally do, but obviously we request council support, but bunker gear would be on the top of our list for any needs. We can't really go without it, of course. So, but yes, I can definitely bring back, and I wanted to make council aware, obviously, so that's why we included it in the report. But yes, I'll bring back better costing for you, just so we're all on the same
Jeff, you'll
page for
need-
that.
Sorry, Jeff, you'll need an actual resolution to get approval to spend that amount of money.
Okay, so we can do that next council meeting.
Yes, but that, so it'll be December 2nd.
Any other questions for Jeff? I just have one. What is a pre-fire condition on vehicle?
Yeah, good question. I thought somebody might ask that. So that came
I mean,
in
somebody called you before the fire started?
pretty much. An overheated vehicle is actually one example of that. So, you know, we've all, many of us have seen an overheated steaming vehicle, right? And that often the fire department will get dispatched, and that is what could we consider it. It appears to pre-fire conditions, and there's a possibility there, but there's no actual fire. This one involved hot exhaust under a vehicle, I believe it was, and so I think there was some concern that there would be fire there, but when crews arrived, there was no fire no fire present. So,
Okay. All right. I just have never seen that before, so
yeah, it
always learning.
Yeah, it gets dispatched as a fire, right? A vehicle fire. But then when we report, I just thought that was a nice piece of information when we report it to the office of the fire marshal, and it gets reported as it ended up being a pre-fire condition because there was no actual fire. So.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we're all done with you, Jeff. You got anything else on your mind that?
Yeah, sorry, I will quickly add, I meant to recruitment. So we had our orientation last night, and we had 4 of the 5 there last night, plus the 2 that we recruited a couple months ago off the wait list, if council recalls. So we've got, I guess, a total of 7, between the 2 stations, 7 new recruits. So, and we did put a couple on the waiting list as well. So anyways, that's a positive note. Most of them will be attending the 1001 course in Elgin starting in January.
Okay. Seeing nothing more, thank you very much, Jeff. Have a good day.
Thank you.
We have a recommendation of West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Jeff MacArthur, Fire Chief, RE October monthly fire report for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Tellier, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, moving right along, annual emergency exercise. Jenna, you want to report on that?
Yes, so this is just a brief overview of what we went through on November the 3rd. I'm not sure if anyone had any questions or wanted to know some more information about it, so let me know.
I think it was a very, very good exercise. I think from our emergency measures coordinator in out of St. Thomas, he was very excited about it because the exercise that we went through was again the potential of a algae bloom toxin in the lake, such as they've had on the American side where the water in Ohio. He was very excited about this because usually his exercises result in a fire-related situation, and this was the first time that he branched out into something else. That and it certainly shone the light on the fact that because of the distribution size that we have of our tri-county water system, that we do quite possibly need to investigate the potential of having an emergency plan for the water treatment plant. Bonnie?
I found it interesting at the when the county was presenting their natural heritage information that they did not consider our water intake to be high risk as opposed to the other intakes in the county. So
I think they've done some more investigation on that, and I think that is just something that's got lost in the bureaucracy. I believe that it has been done, and it is there, and I think that it will show
be
itself.
added in. Okay.
Yeah, and you're right. It didn't make sense why it wasn't.
I didn't know
So,
what it was about the geography of our water intake that would make it even any less likely to get algal bloom in it or whatever.
I can't remember the exact conversation that I had with Nancy, our planner at the county, but I think that she did find out more information, as we had asked her to do that night, to look into it a little deeper to see what was there.
So in following up with that, the issue was our water intake plant does not have a separate assessment. Magda and I have been dealing with Brian on it. That Lower Thames Conservation Authority did its own assessment and the plant didn't have a separate one, and the county had no information on ours from Lower Thames, but we've been working with Brian to get them the information they needed, so.
So I think it's there. It's just a matter that it's in somebody else's desk. Any other questions on the emergency exercise?
I have one question. And it's to Jenna, really.
Mhm.
Jenna, wasn't I a member of that emergency plan?
Yep, you said you couldn't come.
I know I couldn't attend, but here you put, you given the members.
Yeah, just the people who were there that day.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's why
It didn't say that.
Oh, sorry, that's why your name's not on there, just because you weren't there.
Okay.
You're actually Duncan's alternate. You don't have, it's one, either or of you. It's not always both of you, but we just include both of you. Yeah, that's,
I thought about that too, that his name should have been in there.
yep, sorry, that was, yeah, it was because he wasn't at the.
That's
exercise,
fine.
Yeah.
That's cleared. Thank you.
Okay, with that, if there's no further questions, we have a recommendation of West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Jane Ellicott Clerk, RE 2021 Annual Emergency Exercise for information purposes. Mover and seconder. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried. Next item up, Lee. Lee's report is Before you there, any questions that you may have for Lee regarding his report? Yes, funny.
Just wondered what the status of the new sign installation in Rodney. Has any solution been found for the foundation?
Yes, so we were able to, we did some exploratory work with the Public Works Department and our hydrovac trailer, and we found that the issue that the contractor was running into was buried railroad ties.
Oh, okay.
So we actually, the contractor came back the following week and we were on site with our trailer. So we hydro back the holes, and then where we ran into the railroad ties, we just took a chainsaw and we cut the ties. And so they were able to get the
Good.
footings put in. So
Great.
the footings are in now. The signs have gone to paint. So a week or two.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, Sandra.
Thank you for the update. I know, or I believe in the past, we've used Gerber's to put up the Christmas lights. I wondered if you knew potentially when that may be happening.
For Rodney or West Lauren?
West Lauren, people are asking regarding the parade.
West Lauren, I believe Adam was did reach out to Gerber's, and I think they have that scheduled for early next week.
Excellent, thank you.
One of the things that I did notice on Queen Street, the deer warning flashing sign light is out.
Oh, okay, I will mention that too.
And I think, I thought there was even some on number 3 highway. I don't know if we have any on number 3 highway or it's done, which is. But it's been, I've noticed, I just keep forgetting to bring it to their attention. But,
okay, I'll mention that to Public Works. We'll check it out. Those are the new ones are solar powered. The original ones, the county ones, were battery powered. The original ones. So,
any other questions for Lee? Any movement on the tree on Rideout, or have you come to a conclusion on?
Across from the dentist's
Yeah.
office. Yeah, the contractor was there last week.
You got that tied
And
up?
the tree's safe. It just, we eliminated the dead. There was a couple dead branches, and the 2 branches, or the 2 limbs that were hanging towards the house were trimmed. So it's all looked after.
Other questions? Okay, I have a recommendation here that recommended that the West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Lee Gosnell, Manager, Operations, and Community Services for information purposes. Mover and seconder for that. Moved by Talia, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. Next item. This was a shocker.
So we actually, Magda might want to speak to this. She met with the contractor that finished the repairs to the cairn, and when he was asked, we had asked him to take a closer look at the stone walls and the pillars. His opinion is that it's not just a simple, you could patch it by just plucking a few stones back into it, but it's not a long-term solution. It was the same as the cairn, that it basically needs to be taken apart. And his worry is that the structure in behind that, whereas the cairn is all stone and concrete, the structure in behind that with the foundation could be an issue as well. So to do it properly, all 4 structures, the 2 pillars and the 2 walls, need to be completely taken apart. The base needs to be repaired, and then the stone needs to be put back on. So, you know, that's, as we're getting into budget preparation right now, I guess this was information for council, but also possibly some direction as to if council feels that those structures are worth putting that kind of money into.
Funny.
I can't see us spending $50,000 to do that myself. I just, I would encourage you to maybe look at other types of fence that could be put in that will look nice with the new gate that's ordered and, you know, see what that cost might be. You know, as I look at it, I think it will look fine without the stone fence and gate and posts there. The cairn looks great. Didn't know whether it came in under budget, that repair of the cairn, did it? Did we receive a bill for that?
I don't
Yeah.
think we've been invoiced for that yet. have we?
Yes, we have
Oh.
one. So.
I know that when we budgeted for that, we were hoping that it would allow for repair of the fence and posts too, but that was my understanding anyway.
I believe, Counselor, I believe that the repair to the cairn did come in under the budget amount, but the amount we had in the budget was for the cairn and the gate, like it was kind of all together. So I think we had.
So we had $25,000 in the budget.
Mhm.
We spent.
And then the gate is on top of that. Mhm.
Through the chair.
So there may be some left over. I mean, the gate's not going to be all that.
No.
Richard.
Lee, in the first place, we never did, you know, we was going to tidy the pillars up, but the gate was going to be hung on metal posts behind those pillars. That's how it was planned. So in actual fact, there's no need that we wasn't going to touch the pillars at all. So I suggest they're just pointed up. But I mean, it's too much money, isn't it? I can almost brick a house for that money.
So I guess then my next question would be, what do we put any money into the stone pillars and walls? As a Band-Aid, you're saying pointing them up, which is still going to be an expense, right? And it's not going to be a long-term solution. Do we just leave them the way they are for the next few years and then eliminate them when they get to a point where they are in terrible shape? Or do we
And then
look at putting, like Councillor Rowe said, do we look at maybe an option of installing some kind of a nice fence across there that would look nice with the gate and eliminate the stone pillars and walls next year?
I think it's best to go back and have another look and see. Have another look at the pillows. I'm going to go back and have another good look at them.
They are pretty crumbly.
They are, and when he.
But then eliminate them, okay, like Councillor Rowe said, and we'll put a nice fence there because it won't cost that much money, surely.
Mhm.
In time for budget, we can have some.
Councillor Rowe, I'm. There it goes. To say what Councillor Rowe said, I went and looked at them myself, and I don't know whether they'll last another year. That's outside of my areas or expertise, but I thought similar, could we put something else there and leave them there until the budget deliberations when we get actual numbers in front of us? Lee, would that be possible to get us some proper quotes on different gating?
Yeah, I think we could, well, the gate itself is looked after, but I think we could I'm sure that I could get some pricing together for a couple of options for a fence there.
I think leaving it to budget time with some more information. Certainly the contractor that has done the work on the cairn, has he give any expert opinion on what type of life expectancy we would receive out of repointing those pillars without gates hanging on them? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? And at what price would he charge to have to repoint those?
We could ask.
Mhm.
He hasn't given us a price. We asked him to look at look at them and give us his opinion as to what needed to be done with them. And that was his recommendation. So, but we could certainly ask if he would meet us back out there and look at, you know, look to see if it could be pointed and what kind of time, what kind of life expectancy that would get us.
Another question to you, Richard. Do you think that we need someone with this gentleman's level of expertise to do a simple repointing, or are there local people here that could do that on our behalf?
Sure, there probably is for the pointing.
That's a fairly simple process if you're just repointing it with concrete.
He is local.
Yeah.
Is what-
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because I know that certainly sticker shock hit me when I read the report. So why, is everybody comfortable with getting more information, and we'll be able to nail it down a little tighter at budget time?
So
Okay.
basically, I've updated the recommendation that West Elgin Council provide direction to staff to bring back options for fencing and repointing, including fencing and options, including new fencing and repointing of the existing stone for budget deliberations. So basically, bring back different options, including new fencing and repointing of existing stone for the budget deliberations.
New fencing or you should.
Yes, but he's going to bring back options, including new fencing and or he's going to give the option of that and the repointing of existing stone.
Everybody happy with that, or you want the whole thing read? And
No, it's fine.
no, okay, over a
Just
second. Oh, yes. Yes.
One more clarification. When we're talking about fencing, are we talking all the way, the entire area, or just where the walls and the pillars were?
I don't think there's a need. I mean, the stones and the curbs that are there are fresh and, you know, it keeps cars from driving into the park area. So I don't.
No, I don't. You really should leave it open. It's access for the children to get to the playground. And otherwise they've got to walk all the way around, or you're going to get them scaling over a fence.
You do
So I think it's best as is.
you do have to have something there to keep vehicles from getting in. That's the whole point of those pillars.
There is
Yeah.
places that
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the kind of the point of those pillars, right? Is to
We want to keep
protect
it so
that.
people can walk through.
Okay, can we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Letha Monroe, all in favor? Carried. Next item up is 2022 council meeting dates. Jana has put some recommendations out. Anybody have any conflicts or issues with her recommendations? Keeping in mind that there will be times that we will have to shuffle things around. Seeing none, I have a recommendation of West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Dan and other class clerk regarding 2022 municipal council dates, and that West Elgin Council hereby approves the council and committee meeting dates as presented. Mover and seconder. Moved by Cammert and seconded by Tallier. All in favor? That is carried. Appointment of an engineer, update of assessment schedule for the Axford drain. I guess that's pretty straightforward, is it not, Jenna?
Yeah, Tom was going to join us, but he got busy. Basically, in doing some minor work on this drain, he discovered there's been so many different reports and additions, and it still refers to everything as the King's Highway instead of the 401. And that Talbot line is also referred to as the province, not the county. So he just wants it updated.
Fine.
Where does the Axford drain run?
Lee?
The Axford drain is just north of. Sorry, the Axford drain is just north of 401, north of West Lorne here. So.
That was all the Talbot line? When you refer to the Talbot line being.
Talbot line's assessed in it.
I'd have to look it up, but
Yeah, he told me
Yeah.
Talbot Line's involved in it, so it does.
I can tell you,
It's right there,
it's right
actually.
here. Yeah, I'm sure the Axford drain is just north of 401 here. Yeah, the Axford drain starts right here at this side of 401 and it crosses under 401 and goes north, and then it goes kind of northwest towards the river.
So why does he talk about Talbot Line?
I don't,
It was a last minute report. Okay.
Well, short of that, I guess we have a request from our drainage superintendent. The West Dalton Council hereby receives the report from Janet Ellicott, appointment draining engineer, update the assessment schedule for the Axford drain, and that West Dalton Council hereby appoints Street and Associates to prepare and update an assessment schedule for the Axford drain. Mover and seconder, Cammert and Tellier, all in favor? That is carried. Next up is Magda's administration monthly update. You read the report. Any questions that you have for Magda on that report? Anything you want to add to it? Be straight. I do appreciate these reports. Certainly let us know what's happening in your world and why you're up at midnight working on things. Okay, that we have a recommendation of West Dalton Council hereby receives the report from our CAO and our clerk, RE administration monthly update for October 2021 for information purposes. Mover and seconder, moved by Leatham and seconded by Tellier. All in favor? That is carried. Next item up is the financials for October 31st, 2021. Magda.
Yes, so financials are pretty straightforward. The only thing I would like to add is that I will be bringing another report on December 2nd council meeting with the list of capital projects that are being deferred. And I'll be asking council to approve transfers that funding to reserves so the projects can be completed in 2022.
Okay. Other questions for Magda on the, other than the fact, I look at that and it seems like that is a ton of work for you to put together.
A little bit.
Yeah, certainly. I think from council's perspective, it's comforting to know that we have a staff member that is on top of these financial things and that there are no surprises. Quarterly reports certainly give an indication of the direction of the municipality. So thank you very much for that, Magda. With that, we have a recommendation of West Dalton Council. Oh, yes, question.
Yeah, your response about getting a request to roll them over to next year answered most of my questions. I wasn't sure about the erosion control at the marina. Is that still to be done this year? Or is it moving on till next year? Or?
I think we're waiting on Lower Thames to have a meeting as to what will take place or what will not take place. And
I just had a message through the chair. I just had a message from Valerie yesterday. And she said that we should get in touch with the MNR. And what's the other one, Lee? That we have to get in touch with before we can do those piers? Yeah. And then they will issue the 2 permits and we can go ahead and do them. But if we want them to come down and look, they will, but there's no need, they already know the job. And I've got that on my iPad. If anybody wants to see it later.
Send that to either Lee or Magda. And
I wanted to talk to Magna about it.
Yeah.
Because really we should apply for the 2 permits. They said that if we apply for the 2, they'd give us a break on them. And so I think we really should get going on it.
I don't think that we need to involve fisheries and oceans and St. Peter and the rest of the apostles if we're not going to do that 3rd pier, do we? We're not going to be working in what we're just replacing what's there.
They said the same, notify the same people that you notified when you did the east one. And then apply for your 2 permits, which they'll issue, and carry on and do the job. And like I said, I'll give
Forward
this to
that.
Magna, and she can read it.
Yeah.
So it's exactly come from the horse's mouth.
Well, my understanding, what I took away from our meeting with the yacht club that night was that we were waiting to hear from the gentleman that is a member there that has the expertise in how this work is going to be done, because without a plan as to what's going to happen, you can't apply for a permit. And I have not heard anything from the yacht club since that night, since that meeting.
I mentioned it when I was in the office with Valerie and told her about the platform, and she said, it sounds like he knows what he's doing. Go ahead and do it.
I think we need a little bit more on that.
I will touch base with
Oh, yeah.
that individual that was assigned to that
Yeah.
project.
In fact, he was on the phone to me this morning.
Okay.
Okay. Are we still at the financials? I don't think we've done that recommendation yet, have we? Okay, West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from CAO Treasurer, RE the 2021 year-to-date financials as of October 31st, 2021. For information purposes, mover and seconder, Cameron and Talia, all in favor? That's carried. Moving right along here, committee, what time is it?
11:37.
Wow. Council reports from committees. Anybody have a committee report that they wish to share with council? Seeing none. West Elgin Community Center Board of Management. I guess the minutes are there. I wasn't in attendance at the last meeting. It seemed that meetings kind of stacked up that day. I don't think the minutes are there. Any questions from the minutes? It's looking like we could have some further restrictions coming from Southwest Public Health, which could impact our operations. I have an email here that I haven't had a chance to digest yet, but I don't know how severe they're going to be. I think they're going to be more just limiting indoor capacities. I have to kind of wait and see what happens there.
Through the chair, have the signs been posted there that county was creating with regard to
No,
using? Oh, they didn't?
no, I haven't done that yet. Or everybody's so friggin' busy that things drop off the table. Yes.
So to address that, I've had, again, more calls, and I am instructing the people that are calling me is it is an OPP matter. If you have a question or concern, you need to contact the police. It is not a municipal issue. And that's, I continue to repeat that to everybody that contacts me.
The province has also come out talking about this recently, saying that they are considering the use of the QR codes only to prevent this. They are aware that this is an issue and there's nothing that people can do about it. That's basically what the article I read said.
It's fluid in this game. But it's looking like we're going to be able to go to the US the end of the month and not have a test coming back, which is. I watch a lot of American news and
Only a few more.
72 hours. Seems that the COVID issue has left the American forefront of mind.
It appears that.
They've just, it's kind of left the, it's not the big news item it once was. I look at the last numbers that I seen last week from the Michigan, Ontario has 12 million, almost 12 million population. We had what, 500 cases. Michigan has a population of 9,000 and they had 37 or 800 cases and don't seem to be overly concerned about it. So I don't know. Council announcements, notice of motion. Seeing none, councillor announcements. Seeing none, a matter of urgency. None. The accounts. I believe everyone has had their questions answered regarding the accounts, so I will read the recommendation that the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 11 amounting to $647,588.89 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts. Mover and seconder. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Talia. And the question is?
Yes, we do.
All right. All in favor? And that is carried. Municipality of Chatham Kent Professional Development Day on Municipal Election Day. Is that an issue for us? Okay, I don't think that we need to take any action regarding that. Kitchener, City of Kitchener vaccine passport program. I think that's what, assistance to businesses to set up the QR readers. What's your pleasure on that one? Okay, no action taken. Municipality of Dutton Dunwich support for Tricontinental Heritage Society in preserving St. Helens Church. They
Just a quick
Yep.
note on this. They are, the Tricontinental Heritage Society has asked for a delegation in December, so they're coming on the 16th. So if you guys want to reserve any recommendation until she makes her presentation and comments then.
I don't know if we can make any recommendation today because we have no numbers and we have no
Yeah.
contributions. So I mean, it's a wonderful thing in principle, but I think we do need more information. So is everybody comfortable leaving until?
Be quite an undertaking.
I think it's got much more expensive than what they thought it was going to be.
I
In the
would think
fact
so.
that to move it, not a big job to get somebody to put it on a truck, but to take all the hydro lines down between here and Bacchus Page is a big cost. So, but you have to commend the Bacchus Page group down there in their resiliency of doing what they do, and certainly I think a lot of that credit goes to Angela Bolbier and her group. And I know it was a sad situation that they lost one of their wonderful members in Elaine Brown. That unfortunately. Okay, testing requirements from LaSalle. I think that's a moot point now with the announcements that have come out. So I don't think any action needs to be taken there unless somebody has something specific. Liquor license sales and patio extensions.
We really only had one business that actually took advantage
Yeah.
of it in there. Yeah, so.
I think it's a larger center issue, so. No action taken. All right, municipality of, wow. No. Okay, yes.
Madame.
Our
Madame Francoise.
property assessments. Yeah. I don't know. Yes.
My own personal opinion is that it's not wise to postpone this because I mean, people are going to get hit eventually, but it's a political decision. There's no question. So.
Well, and I think the assessment component of it will be again, a challenge for Magna and council sitting around here balancing out the property assessment increases and balancing that off with adjustments in the mill rate. To make sure. And again, we do maintain the mill rate adjustment fund that is, and was designed to try to offset some of these costs. It's going to be what it's going to be, and whether we squeak for it or not, it's not going to make much difference. Creenan Community Center, thank you. If you guys remember back to the assistance that we jointly worked with Dutton Dunwich, I did speak to Barb Ross and I said, well, she was thanking me and I said, oh, don't thank me. I said, it was your councils that recognized your need. And I don't know if any of you have been by the finished project. really has made quite a difference in their community hall. So
Huge
I guess
difference.
we can, it just again shows you the results of two municipalities coming together for assistance to a good organization.
I'm fine with this notice. I guess they're asking our permission to use that notice, so.
Okay, we're down to bylaws. Madam Clerk, do your worst.
So bylaw, this is the final reading of the pool outlet drain to which we held the court of revision at the committee of the whole. So the bylaw 2021-55 being a bylaw to provide for the reconstruction of the pool outlet drain in the municipality of West Elgin be read a third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Cameron, seconded by Rowe, all in favor, and that is carried.
So bylaw 2021-62, the bylaw to adopt the Tri-County Water Board Master Agreement. After a year and a half, I have to say, I'm the happiest ever to pass this, that we're bringing this bylaw forward. So that bylaw 2021-62 being a bylaw to create a joint municipal services board for the provision of water utility services be read a first, second, and third and final time.
By Cameron, seconded by Tallier, all in favor. That's carried. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And certainly our thanks have to go out to our administrative staff here and certainly to Amy Dale and leading everybody through this. This could have turned into a minefield so easy. So thank you so much for championing this through to a successful conclusion. Next one up is
So we're going to close session. Yes.
Closed session. And I have a recommendation that the council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds to a closed session at
11:47 a.m.
under section 239(2) B and D of the Municipal Act ROS 2001, consideration being given to matters pertaining to an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local board employee and labor relations or employee negotiations. Mover and seconder. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Rowe. All in favor? That is carried. We're now in closed.
Oh, no, we're not. Just
We're
Lee and
not?
I have to leave and I have to shut the video and stuff off. So gotta get.
Oh, okay. Anybody need a break? Hey, we need a report from a closed session, Magda?
That direction was provided to staff regarding identifiable individuals and local or municipal board employee, municipal or local board employee negotiations.
Mover and seconder for that. Moved by Italier and Cameron. All in favor? That is carried.
So that bylaw 2021-63 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on November 18th, 2021 be read first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, Cameron and Rowe, all in favor? Carried.
So that the council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 12:59 PM to meet again at 9:30 AM, December 2nd, 2021.
Moved by Cameron, second by Latham, all in favor? Carried.
And the
Okay.
meeting's over.
Thank you very much. So we'll listen to Northwest Public Health here.